Welcome to the show. You guys, we're going to change things up a little bit. First off, welcome to the Fit Women's Weekly podcast. If this is your first time listening in, welcome to the show. I hope that you enjoy the things that you hear in this particular episode and it makes you want to go back and listen to previous episodes. And of course, I would love for you to subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes. I put brand new podcasts out every single week covering all things fitness, nutrition, life, mindset, everything that I have learned as a personal trainer for almost 20 years, plus the experiences that I learned in my own life going through the ups and downs of just being a woman. And that's what this episode is about. I'm sharing a little bit about my own personal experience because this weekend I did something that I have never ever done before, and I competed in my very first CrossFit competition. Now, let me go ahead and say I am not affiliated to a CrossFit gym. I do not coach CrossFit. I am not certified in CrossFit. But what I am certified in is I am certified as a certified personal trainer, as a kettlebell coach, as a nutrition coach, and as a weight loss specialist for women. So I would like to say that I know a thing or two, especially since this isn't stuff that I've just been dabbling in for the past year. I have been a personal trainer for my career for almost 20 years. So yeah, I like to say that I'm pretty knowledgeable on this. Now, what I will also say is that I am a big fan of the sport of CrossFit. I follow all of the professional athletes. I watch most of the competitions. I love the CrossFit Games. So as a sporting event, big fan over here. When it comes to CrossFit as a way of fitness, I do appreciate it. I think that there are some awesome benefits to it, but I do have a couple of times that I've raised my eyebrows to them. And when people ask me what are my thoughts, I say, well, I love it for this reason, this reason, and this reason, but I don't love it for X, Y, and Z. I do think that CrossFit has gotten a bad rap over the past, since it's been around. And while I wish that I could say I don't understand why it's gotten a bad rap, I actually do understand. And especially being in the world of in the competition world this past weekend, it just kind of reiterated it for me. So I want to share my experience going to my first competition and then kind of shed some light on what I think CrossFit could do to not have the negative connotations associated with it for a lot of times. And let me just go ahead and put it out there. Again, I love CrossFit. I will say this, if I did not own my own gym, if I was not a personal trainer and I needed to find a space where I personally belonged and felt pushed and challenged and enjoyed the workouts, then I would probably be a member at a CrossFit studio or box or whatever it is that you want to call it, because that is the style of workout that I myself enjoy doing. I love being pushed, but I'm a little bit different in it because of the knowledge that I have and that I can bring, and I don't have the rose-colored glasses on, I guess you could say, so I could look at things from an outside perspective and go, this is what I love about it for my own training and for my training for my clients, and then I can tweak it to make it better. I know that that's going out on a limb, but don't worry, I'll explain more. I'm just wanting to put out there that I actually do like CrossFit. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done the competition in the first place. So I did what was called the Festivus Games. This is a competition that was held, I believe, all over the country. I don't know if it was a worldwide competition, but it is something that was held all over America this past weekend on April 20th. And it was 4 workouts. They had an individual opportunity for competition or team. And a couple of weeks ago, one of my girlfriends that actually, she used to come to our studio, and when we closed our studio down, she started going to a CrossFit gym, and we've stayed in touch along the way. She had already signed up for the team competition, and one of their teammates backed out, so she reached out to me and said, hey, you're fit. I know that you love doing this kind of stuff. You can already do a lot of these moves. Would you step in? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of a last minute thing for me. But what I will say about the Festivus Games is that it is focused on intermediate and beginner athletes. It's to help open the door into that competitive world where you might not feel comfortable doing it in a grander stage. But if you know that everybody else around you is going to be around the same level as you, then cool. Maybe you're going to be more apt to sign up and participate and just not feel so pressured, right? There's not going to be the regional athletes or the games athletes there, or the people that think that they're game athletes there trying to like destroy everybody. It was just more of a beginner atmosphere so that you can feel like that competitiveness without feeling like, oh, I'm slowing everything down or I can't do this. So when I found out that it was for that level, I was like, yeah, sign me up. I think that is an awesome way to bring the community together. So yeah, I really appreciate it for that. One of our local boxes, it was at a place called, what was it called? Fox Den CrossFit here in Charleston. Well, a suburb of Charleston held it. It was a great gym. The space was really, really big. They ran everything very structured. We were able to stick to our times along the way. So I just wanted to do a little shout out to them. Fox Den CrossFit, great job. Awesome judges. The people that donated their time did a fantastic job. They really, really did. And so the actual competition itself was made out of 4 different workouts. And yeah, like I said, more beginner focused. The first workout was a deadlift ladder where there were 7 different bars. Each bar went up in weight. You had 90 seconds at each bar as a team for each person to do 5 reps. If you weren't able to complete the 5 reps, then you would stop, but your teammates could still go on. And so your total score was the reps of each individual person. So I thought that was really cool. But that is going to be one of the things that stands out to me when I look at things and go, ooh, this is why people raise their eyes when it comes to CrossFit stuff. So I'm going to go through the 2 main exercises that made me just kind of go a little, ooh, cringe and wince a lot. And then I want to explain what they can do different, or what I think the downfall is, and what they can do different to improve themselves moving forward. Cool. So there are a couple of different moves that I don't believe in when it comes to the CrossFit philosophy. And I understand that CrossFit is about athleticism. It is about making everyday people feel like athletes. And I think that's really cool. And that is one thing that I've always strived for too in my personal studio. And with that, they are trying to make people move in functional ways, big compound movements to help with their life inside and outside of the gym. So big moves like squats and deadlifts. Awesome. Love it. But then they also incorporate other forms of fitness into their training. So they have weightlifting, doing big Olympic weightlifting moves like cleans and snatches and jerks. Then they also have gymnastics components where you're doing handstands and handstand walks and pull-ups and muscle-ups. We've all seen those before. Then they have just your traditional interval style of movements. We're talking like cardiovascular, bodyweight movements, box jumps, burpees, those sorts of movements as well, right? So it incorporates kind of like every focus of fitness that you can think of into one hub that is now called CrossFit nowadays. Now, I do want to say though that CrossFit did not invent this style of training. I have been doing high intensity training since college, and I was not in college yesterday. I graduated college in 2006. CrossFit was around, but it was very, very new at the time. I did not know about it. So anytime people say, oh, you CrossFit, I simply say no. I do Metcon style of workouts that I've been doing for over 20 years now. And it just so happens that that is also the style that CrossFit does as well. So I also want to just put it out there. So when people say you do CrossFit, no. I do a style of training that CrossFit does as well, but I do not incorporate CrossFit. And I say that because I do not believe in all of the moves that CrossFit does. I don't think that certain movements like handstands or handstand push-ups are very good for most people. For some people, yes, awesome. Most people don't have the stability and the strength in their shoulders to just be able to flip themselves up and then try to do those movements. And when you try to do it over and over and over again, yes, you are going to build some good strength. But if you don't have the foundation already set for having strong, safe, stable shoulders, then you are going to get yourself injured. The same thing goes with certain movements, like kipping movements on a bar, where it can get a lot of wear and tear very, very quickly. So when you're doing kipping toes to bar or kipping pull-ups, it's a great move for some people, but for some people it's not. And if you don't know and you just kind of say like, okay, I'm going to keep practicing this and practicing it until I get it, it can cause a lot of wear and tear to break your back or to break your body down a lot faster. Now, when it comes to the competition, what I saw was in the terms of deadlifting. So like I mentioned, we did this deadlift ladder, and the very, very last ladder or the last weight was 205 pounds. And at that point, you had 5 reps that you had to get through. And then if you still had enough energy left in the tank, you could continue on to knock out as many reps as possible, but until you did have to break. So any break, then your turn was gone and your partner would go. And so, of course, you're just trying to really wing it and go for it and try to do your best. But I was wincing so much at watching people force reps and watching their form break down. And all I could think of was, this is when a judge needs to step up and go, okay, you are done. You are picking the bar up, but you're doing it in an unhealthy way that it is risking yourself to be able to not only finish the competition, but putting yourself at a huge risk of injury for feeling bad for the rest of the day or potentially really, really hurting yourself moving forward. So I do think that there need to be some more standards set in motion that says this is what your rep is supposed to look like. When your rep starts to fall from this and you are at risk of injury, it is a no rep. When I'm doing things like this in my own studio or with Fit Women's Weekly Live, and I see reps starting to look that bad, I'll say, you're done. Awesome work. I'm proud of you for getting this far, but you're at a point where we have to put on the brakes, and basically you looking like that is just as bad as not completing the rep at all. So just go ahead and stop. So that was my first thing. And I realize that it's a competition and that people are trying to get as many reps as possible. But to me, those aren't reps. So that's my first thing that made me wince, was that judging needs to be held at a higher standard that says that is no good. You are no longer doing the rep in an efficient, healthy, safe way. You're done. The other exercise that I saw at this particular competition that made me go, oh, I get it, is kettlebell swings. You guys know I am obsessed with kettlebells. I truly do look at kettlebells for giving me the confidence with my own training and helping me take my own fitness to the next level. And that was over 15 years ago when I found kettlebells. And then I have gone on to be certified by Kettlebell Athletics. And then a year later, I was also certified by RKC, Russian Kettlebell Certification. And so I tend to say that I know a thing or two about kettlebells. And this is not the first time that I have looked at CrossFitters doing kettlebell exercises and gone, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Even during games, when I am seeing people hold kettlebells, especially overhead, their weights are going backwards. They're bending at their wrist versus keeping a nice neutral position with their wrist, where their wrist from the top of their knuckles to their elbows is straight. What they're doing is bending their kettlebell back, and that is unsafe on the wrist, but it's also unsafe because that can pull back, change your balance, change your stability, and pull that shoulder and cause damage not only during the move, but if you're doing that over and over again, could cause wear and tear. So that I've seen before. Now, the exercises that we were doing, or one of the workouts, included Russian kettlebell swings. Their standard, the way that they made us do them, was you would have to deadlift the kettlebell up so that you're standing up straight with it, and then keeping your elbows locked, you are then to go into your kettlebell swings. I have done several shorts on kettlebell swings. I've done actual full YouTube videos on how to do a proper kettlebell swing, and that is not how to do a proper kettlebell swing. A proper Russian kettlebell swing, okay, I'm putting the name Russian kettlebell swing because that's the name that they used during the workout. It was 99 as a group of 3 Russian swings. What is to have your kettlebell out in front of you in a start-stop position, so then you can hike the bell back and then using your hips go into your swings. So the start is not correct with what the Russian kettlebell philosophy is, and then having straight elbows where your arms are completely locked is also not the best way to mechanically do a Russian swing. You want your hips and your legs to drive the kettlebell up. The only thing that your arms are doing is helping to direct the kettlebell on where to go up. And if your kettlebell is completely out in front of your body with straight arms, you're actually taking it off of its natural arc. But on top of that, you are also having it to where it can pull you off balance, so that having your feet shifted back a little bit, kind of like when you are doing a deadlift, can then be taken forward up to your toes. And then what that's going to do is not only take you off balance and pull you forward, it's also going to pull your shoulders forward, in which case we'll take them out of that packed position. And then what's going to happen is when you go into your next swing, your swing's going to be lower down from your crotch. You generally want that back swing to be with your hands up in your crotch position. But if your shoulders are not packed, it's going to have you lower down so that your hands are closer to your knees and the bottom of your swing, which, see, there's a lot of like, which this then does this, then does this, can make you have a curve to your back instead of having a nice straight spine, and what could cause you to have an injury in your back and put a lot of pressure on your lower back and in your upper back. So that was very cringeworthy. We did not actually, or I did not get to do any of the swings, and I was very happy for that because I probably would have gotten in a fight with my judge. Not because I am better than you at this, which I'm sorry, I am better than you at this because that is actually what I am trained to do, but more of like, I am not going to compromise my own personal training and my own body and risk injury in order to hit that particular standard. And so my only thing with it was, don't call it a Russian kettlebell swing if you are not going to follow the rules of a Russian kettlebell swing. I also don't believe in doing American swings, but that's a topic for a whole nother episode, and actually I think I have talked about it in the past. So those were the 2 moves with the deadlifts and the swings that just made me go, ooh, this is not good. And I did take some video footage of myself yesterday in my studio demonstrating what the swing that we are supposed to do look like versus what a swing should actually look like. And this is actually the number one question that I get anytime that I post kettlebell workouts. People will often ask, why are my arms slightly bent? And for all those reasons that I just talked about. So then it comes down to, okay, well, what's the issue going on here? And I think it comes down to being a jack of all trades, but a master of none. When it comes to Olympic lifts, people literally train every day for years to get snatch, cleans, jerks, right? People go to the Olympics and do just those movements, and they're training every single day to perfect those movements. And so then that's part number 1. Then there are the kettlebells. Again, people train all the time to get perfect at just kettlebells. That in itself is a skill that takes a lot of practice and a lot of work. And then there's the gymnastics component, doing handstands, doing handstand walks, doing muscle ups, which again, people train for a very long time with very many hours of work put into it to get efficient at those skills. So I think that while I love doing all those things and they're a lot of fun, I think that it can put people at danger when you're just trying to rush to learn them to be able to incorporate them with all the other stuff. So I think that the best way to go about it is to become a master at something, or to tone movements down and have maybe different levels at different CrossFit gyms. But I know that that's not their philosophy. They want everyone to be in one room, that no matter where you are in your fitness journey, you can participate. But I know that I was talking to one of my friends who does CrossFit, and she was saying that at their gym, not everybody even has to take the foundation course, which a foundation course is just teaching you the basic movements to help you to modify exercises. So if you don't know how to modify, but you can't do a handstand push-up yet, then I can see where the risk of injury can come in, and where people would go, what are you doing? Like, that's really bad for you, right? So as a whole, again, I love the philosophy. I love all the different forms of training, but there does have to be a better way to learn those moves in a safe way and to learn them appropriately. I think that not so much now, but I think that the older style of CrossFit under previous ownership was, I know how you like to do it, but I like this way better, so this is what we're going to do, as a way to kind of pull themselves away. And in doing that, they actually put themselves up for, I don't want to say failure, but for being criticized because their way wasn't the right way. Like, people have spent years and decades and even centuries working on some of these moves, so then just to change it up for the sake of changing it up to be quote unquote different and cute isn't very smart. Kettlebells, case in point. Russians have been training with kettlebells for over 100 years. They got it down packed. So why change something that isn't broken, and in fact change it in such a way that could potentially break people? So that's just my thought. But I would love to hear what you guys think, and it really does come down to one, standing up for yourself. So if I were ever to do another CrossFit gym, I would go in there and say, hey, here's my thoughts on this. I understand what you are saying is right, but I'm not going to put myself at risk for injury to do it the way that you're trying to tell me to do it. And then also, if you are at a CrossFit gym and you want to have a little bit more understanding and become more of a master in something, and specifically if that is kettlebells, I would be happy, especially if you're down in like South Carolina, North Carolina area. I would love to come in and do a proper kettlebell coaching class for the people at the box to help them understand the correct way and the mechanics of kettlebells, and understanding the science and the exercise that goes into it. So yeah, overall though, I had an awesome experience. I would absolutely do this event again, and I actually have the itch to do another competition. So maybe an individual competition, but I had fun with the team competition as well. But overall, it was such a cool thing. I walked away from it going, wow, I feel so strong. I feel so fit. And I didn't go into it with the competitive mindset that I've had lots of times before of like, I'm going to win, because I've never done this before. This was outside of my comfort zone a little bit. I 100% went into this just going like, let's just have fun and cheer one another on, cheer the different teams on. And I'm so glad that I did it that way, because it just took the pressure off. But I still worked really hard. And at the end of the day, I felt like one strong 40-year-old for sure. So yeah, that's it. If you have questions, let me know. I could go on and break down individual moves, but I continue that list. But I won't do that today. Those are just my thoughts from the Festivus Games. But if you have questions, comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like the video and subscribe. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, make sure to subscribe, because I put out new episodes every single week. And on the audio version, not on YouTube, but I actually put out 2 episodes every single week, a more relaxed version on Friday. So be on the lookout for that. We might do a Q&A this week. And if you have topics or that you would like covered in future episodes, slide into my DMs, Kendall Boyle Fitness, or email me at kendall@fitwomensweekly.com, which leads me to my very last thing for today, you guys. If you love chit-chatting with me, but you actually want to work out with me and maybe learn some of these kettlebell skills that I was talking about, head over to fitwomensweekly.com, where you can sign up for Fit Women's Weekly Live, which is my online training studio for free for 2 full weeks. Train with me every day, brand new workouts, train with me live or not. It's always there when you're ready, and I can help take your fitness to the next level. I promise you. So just give it a shot. If you haven't tried it, why not? You have nothing to lose, no credit card required, and get the information at fitwomensweekly.com, and I'll make sure to link it in the show notes. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.